Well, well, first of all, thank you for coming. God bless you. What a joy to be with you. I'm honored that you would spend these days with the Lord with me. And I hope you didn't come to hear me, but we've come to hear the Lord. What is God saying for me, for you, at this time in our life? The topic of the retreat, of course, in short, is the healing of the father wound, but it's really how to no longer live as an orphan, but how to live as a favorite son and daughter in Jesus the Son, in Papa's house, the house of the Father. Most of the world, in my travels, doesn't matter the vocation, whether you be priest, married, single, young, adult, whatever. Most people I have found in my travels, they live as orphans. I'll even describe it in a few moments what that means, to live as an orphan. It might not be physically, biologically an orphan, they have biological parents, but on an emotional level, they live as an orphan. And that has specific symptoms. Now, to begin what God intended, if we had a perfect world, which we don't, I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to know that. But God intended that your family and mine would have parents that would know how to give what biblically, family life is founded on parenting based on handing down a blessing. And the blessing isn't like what we know in our Latin American countries, for example. Many children, depending on the country, they come up to their father and say, tu bendición, your blessing. And what they do is, before they go to school, the father traces a little cross on their forehead. We're not talking about that. The blessing, biblically, you find this in the book of Genesis. For example, in Genesis 27, when Esau does not receive the blessing because he sold his birthright, and Jacob receives the blessing. It was conniving, but he receives the blessing, and Esau is heartbroken. He's screaming, he's crying out. Do you have any blessing from me? I mean, it levels him that he did not receive the blessing. It crushed him. It overwhelmed him. And then you'll find in Genesis 48, for example, when the children of Joseph received the blessing. And you find specific signs, experiences of this blessing. But let me just read you from Sirach chapter 3, verse 9. For a father's blessing strengthens the house of the children. Now, we're not talking about a physical construction, but the construction of your heart. Your heart is formed. And the blessing is 5 ways of experiencing, tasting. The Jewish way of saying experiencing is taste the goodness of the Lord. Taste the blessing. It enters your palate of your heart, not just your head, ideas. The Middle East is heart. That's the geography. Heartfelt. The West is very rational. You need both. You need a good reason, truth, to guide the heart. But you need a heart. And the heart needs to be healthy 5 ways as you're growing up. From literally conception, it begins there, in your mommy's womb. You need 2 types of love, a daddy and a mommy. And the blessing, 5 ways on both ways. 5 different types of flavors. We just passed by and I mentioned to Sean, who was driving me, I said, oh look, there's 31 flavors. Well, we need 5 flavors of love. And I'll explain what that even means. And when I've run into people the few people who have received the blessing, you can see they have a confidence about them, they have a humility, they know who they are. And those that haven't, which is the majority of the world, and some of them have really been railroaded way off course. And this grace, God builds God, Jesus, who had a human heart. Jesus loves our human heart. He loves your human heart. He had a human heart. So your heart and mind matter to him. He understands it. He knows what makes us tick. He understands our pain, our loneliness, our wounds, a sense of feeling defeated, lonely, a sense of desperation, a sense of always being overwhelmed. That's one of the traits of an orphan. You feel easily overwhelmed. In Spanish we say, te ahogas en un vaso de agua. You drown in a glass of water. A glass of water isn't big. So what we experience might be really not big, but we feel like we're drowning, overwhelmed. So the Father's blessing, if we experience the blessing, these 5 types of love that I haven't even mentioned what they are yet, then the construction of our heart is strong, it's sturdy. And the blessing from the Father is like what the skeleton is for the body. You could be the fastest person in history, Usain Bolt, but if he had no skeleton, he wouldn't move a millimeter. Usain Bolt is the world-class champion runner. Without a skeleton, he wouldn't move. The gun goes off at the starting line and he falls without a skeleton. So the relationship with the Father gives you stability, gives you courage to face difficult decisions, to make the right choice. Even though everybody is against it, you're laughing stuff, your relationship, your connection emotionally with your daddy is what gives you courage. Because he has encouraged you. He's giving you courage because you have been the apple of his eyes. And then it says, but a mother's curse uproots the foundation. The mother relationship in the upbringing of a child, is what develops interpersonal relationships. Your capacity to connect with the opposite sex in a healthy way, to have relationship, to talk, to feel. And family life should have been a place where you and I were allowed to feel and share what we're feeling. I'll let you into my heart. I'm sad. Oh, really? You're sad? Why are you sad? I'm lonely. Oh, honey, why do you feel lonely? I had a bad day. Why did you have a bad day? And then they explain what they felt, why they feel it, and they share it. And that should be a healthy family. And you're asked questions. Because the heart functions in a healthy way. By talking. See, God doesn't want us to be dogs. My dog, when he wants attention, he comes, sits next to me, and he wants to be rubbed. And he wants to go out, he comes, and he gets really close. Or he stares at the door. But we're not dogs. We're human beings. And God expects us. And we can only learn how to be a human being. And there's no one more human than God. So God understanding, God loves your human heart. Loves your human heart. With all its scars. He loves your human heart. And mine. So what is this blessing that gives you either it forms you or deforms you if you didn't receive it. It forms you, you know who you are. You can face life. You can live to love, not just looking for love. Or it deforms you if we didn't receive it. Now I want you to know, I just very briefly, I had what I call the double gift. The double whammy. I didn't receive the blessing. From mommy or daddy. My father was, he had like boxing. In fact, I'm writing a book called Featherweight. There's reasons why it's called Featherweight. And it's about this, the healing of the fatherhood. My father his background was, his father was an alcoholic. My dad, as a young boy, entered his house in Peru, and he saw his dad laying on the ground, dead, drunk. Imagine that trauma. I can't imagine. He was 7 years old. Entered his house, saw his dad dead on the ground and drunk. My dad on this side of eternity never recovered. My dad carried those scars for all his life. When I asked my dad, tell me, as I was innocent, as a 7-year-old, we were working in the garden. I'm sure we were pulling weeds or something. I said, Papi, cuéntame de papá. Daddy, tell me about papá, my grandfather. My dad's only answer was, none of your business. Well, now I would know as a priest and someone who does this for a living, oh, you have a big wound. My dad. So he never dealt with his heart. And my mother was petrified. Now this is more about the father stuff. Because her dad died, left. He got hit by a car in Peru. She was young. So she was petrified of being a widow, like her mother. So what did she do? She lived one of her main goals as a wife was, because my dad had a heart problem. Of course, you don't deal with your heart. You have heart problems. And my mom was to keep my dad at all costs at peace. So we could never talk. We had to just be good. Whatever you do, be good. Well, that house was a mess. You weren't allowed to talk. You weren't allowed to feel. You weren't asked. Just be good. So what is this blessing that makes our heart healthy, alive? And that blessing is only meant to prepare you for the real Papa, God the Father, the best of fathers. We do have a great parent, and the best of mothers, Our Lady. You'll find this, for example, and I mentioned some of the scriptures, but also Mark 10:16, when Jesus is with little children. What's the blessing? 5 things. Number 1, a lot of affection. We're not angels. We have a body. You have a body. I have a body. We needed a lot of affection growing up. A lot of kisses, a lot of hugs, our back rubbed, tickles. We need touch. Loving, human, respectful touch. Touch that soothes our heart, that quiets our heart, that allows our heart to rest. Home life should be a place where finally you can let your guard down and you are allowed to rest. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to be strong. Your heart rests. You can be yourself. And the geography of family life, a healthy family life, is the heart. It's constantly touching and being touched in a way that touches the heart. I've seen parents with their children. The children can be really antsy and they say, come here, honey. They sit on their daddy's lap, they rub their heart, and the baby falls asleep. Sister Mary Trace shared with me a beautiful experience she saw in the airport in Peru. This is a beautiful example of fatherhood. She was dead tired. She had given a retreat. She gives retreats for sexual abuse. She's led groups for support groups for women. And she told me she was dead tired. I love to call when I'm tired. I said, he asked me, how you feeling, Father? I feel plucked. No feathers. You know those chickens that you lift up? There's no feathers on this padre. There's not one feather. I mean, he's plucked. Okay? So she told me, Father, I felt plucked. And we know what that means. But she saw a man across from her in the gate, waiting for the fight. And he had a son that was Down syndrome. Like like 9 years old. And the father did everything in his body to make his son comfortable. If his son's head was hanging, he would move his arm so his head would rest on his arm. At one point she told me the son, because this is very common with Down syndrome, they start drooling. So the father took the drool so the son would not be embarrassed. And he wiped it on his shirt. And then he put his head in a particular way so he wouldn't be drooling. But the father did everything to bring comfort and rest to his son, until finally the son just rested and fell asleep in his arms. Well, sister told me that just watching the father, of course it made her think of God the Father. And before she got on board, she wrote him a note. And she basically said how much that ministered to her. In fact, it took her tiredness away. She no longer felt tired. It fed her seeing his fatherhood for his son. Well, that's what a healthy fatherhood does for sons and daughters. It strengthens them when they're weak. It is a companion when they're lonely. It uplifts you when you feel down. It encourages you when you feel discouraged. It listens when you need to talk. If you need a hug, it gives you a hug and kisses. So the first thing is of the blessing is that we need. This is a need, just like I'm thirsty. And by the way, I am thirsty. But I'll have water afterward. And the only thing that will soothe that is water. Well, the only thing that will soothe the heart that is thirsty is, one of them is, a lot of affection. Second, loving words. Words that instruct. Words that are life-giving. Words that help the son and the daughter know who you are. Words that help explain the movements of the heart of the son and the child. Because often children just act out, and they don't know why they're acting out. They just react. Children do that. They don't think. They don't have that capacity there. So the father will sit down and say, what were you feeling at that moment? Well, I didn't like Johnny, his brother, to take my toy. How did you feel? I felt like stupid because I didn't get the toy back. So then the father lets him, and then he explains his heart to him. So, words that instruct when needed. Words that connect. But they connect on a heart level. Not just who's winning the ball game. Who won the Super Bowl? What's the temperature? That's very shallow. I mean, it's not bad to know that you won. Not a sin. But it doesn't go deep. It doesn't touch the heart. It doesn't feed the heart. Our hearts need to be fed. See, we think in our day, if I understand, I mean, we live in a world that you are stuffed with information. And the devil has set it up in such a way to disconnect you from your heart. Now, I'm not going to grab this phone that's next to me as this phone, but you know what I mean. If I had a phone, you just stay connected to the phone. You're not very connected. And if you have a whole family connected to the phone, they never talk. I don't cease to be surprised as I'm walking through the airport. How many people walk? Actually, today on my walk, I saw a mother. Perfect chance with her little boy walking. The whole time, she's on her phone. The little boy's walking next to her. She's on her phone. That little boy is ignored. The phone is more important than the little boy. You know what a psychologist said to me? I had a conference with a Catholic Hispanic psychologist in Chico, California. She told me this: Father, if you only use your right arm, and that's all you use your right arm, you'll be deformed. The rest of you will be limp, will be weak. It won't develop. Well, if you only use one part of your brain, the phone, you become deformed. And that's what's happening. We have people, youth, that are deformed. They don't know how to, not just youth, adults, because I see it all the time. And I'm probably one of the few people that's sitting at the gate and I'm not looking on my phone. I don't want to look at my phone. So Satan has invented a new tool, how to keep you deformed. Everybody's full of information, but it's deforming. The heart is not formed. So I'm highly recommending when you come home, turn off the phones and talk. Learn to talk. The Trinity is a relationship, an eternal relationship. We came from them, so we need to learn how to have relationships. The blessing gives you the way to have relationships that are healthy. So you have words. Words can uplift, or words can cut right through you. The book of James chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 says that the word is powerful. The tongue is powerful. And if you speak, if you're angry, it's literally, James chapter 3, it's inspired in hell. And if we lived in a home there was a lot of fighting, a lot of hell is being breathed in your lungs, in your family life. Hell! And I mean hell! But God intended the tongue. And that's why James will also say, be slow to speak and quick to listen. Words that speak from silence are very loving words. A person that hates silence, that doesn't know how to get silent, can't love. Because God's greatest acts were done in silence. The universe. Your conception, when you were conceived in your mommy's womb, no one heard it. Silence. So part of what helps us to speak is silence. But if you're on the phone all the time, there's no silence. So your heart never rests. It's restless. I'm speaking about the problem, but giving you the solution. Learn to enter into silence. God will teach you about family life because he'll parent you. Hallelujah. So the second part of the blessing is words. Words that give life, words that are life-giving, words that instruct, words that uplift, words that we should have heard this. Words. I love you. If I'm wrong, forgive me. Third aspect of the blessing. God doesn't just give us time. God gives us eternity. Wow, that's a lot of time. It's beyond time. And our human heart will feel loved. We would have felt loved if mommy and daddy would have given us, now I'm focusing on the father, time. Children spell love, T-I-M-E. If my dad gave me time to what? To be together. Time where I feel like the apple of his eye. Time where a daughter feels like, I'm daddy's princess. One little girl in a counseling session that I had in Ecuador. Here we are, mom and dad and the 3 daughters. The little girl raises her hand. I love having children. Because children always tell the truth. The little girl says, Daddy, she said, first of all, she said, Father, can I say something? I said, absolutely. She looked at her dad and said, Daddy, I'll bet you don't even know my favorite color. Now, for that little girl, in her little world, as a 7-year-old, she was telling her daddy, you do not know me, because you don't know my favorite color. And if we're not known, we'll never feel loved. Pope Benedict said, in his beautiful book, Volume 1 on Jesus of Nazareth, he said, to really learn to love someone, we need to know them. But really know them. To be known. I can't tell you how many retreats, when I get to that part of, did your daddy know your favorite color, to the women, they start crying. The little girl in them is crying. And that little girl, the dad, what happened in that session, he fell on his knees, crawled to his daughter, took her into his arms. He had given her everything financially, material things beyond. He was a very successful, or is a very successful dentist. But according to that little girl, you don't know. Now I want you to know, I know, in general, you can, across the board, you can say mom and dad did their best. They did. Even my father. I haven't told you, but my father had boxed when he was young. That's part of the meaning of the book Featherweight. My father boxed. You saw pictures of him in his 20s. He looked like Tarzan. I'm not kidding you. This guy was built. Well, he beat me. At times he beat the tar out of me. In fact, he beat me so bad that I would have been put in a foster home today. We're talking about some of the stuff that you see in mixed martial arts. That's how he let loose on me. My dad, and I hated him. But I want you to know something as I'm telling you that I wouldn't trade it for the world now. Because God, that was part of what he allowed. Didn't want it. God did not want that. And that made me need God. We'll get into that. Yes, my dad and I were reconciled. And there's a reason why on the cover of the book there's a feather. Because God used a feather. How beautiful God did. He's the best. He used a feather to change my father's heart. A feather. Anything that's in God's hands is useful. Even a feather. So the third aspect is time. Children, we feel love if Daddy spent time with us. Time to connect. Time to look deeply into your heart. Time to be noticed. Notice deep, not just, hey, that's a nice shirt. Did you get a haircut? That's very shallow. I'm not saying it's wrong to say that, but I'm just saying that's not yet noticing. Noticing is seeing the expression on your son's heart, on his face. Noticing the space of the way they space their words, their tone. There's a laughter. You know, there's a laughter that communicates loneliness. It's high-pitched. There's a silence that communicates sexual abuse. But if a father knows how to listen and be aware of the movements of the heart in himself, he can be able to connect with the movements of the heart of the son and the daughter. That's to be noticed. We were created to be noticed. That I'm looked at. And those that weren't looked at, they'll act the ways to get people to notice them. Women, they dress very sexy. Clothes that is way too tight, very revealing. Men, the whole issue today of tattoos is partly that. Someone noticed me, someone noticed me, someone noticed me. And I might look bizarre, but I want you to notice me. It's a crying out. In fact, I want you to know they have found out. And in Peru, I've been an exorcist. Demons enter through tattoos. They're finding out throughout the world. When I meet exorcists, we talk. So what are you finding out? We compare notes of our experiences. So to be noticed. So time means to be noticed on a deep level. The fourth element of the blessing is that we needed mom and dad to be prayerful, to be connected emotionally, to connect with us in those other ways, and to be in our corner, that we feel their support, that they help us discover God's plan. It isn't up to me to figure it out. It isn't up to me to really guess. I think I'm going to do this. No, mom and dad should be involved to know, God's giving you this gift. I noticed this gift in you since you were little. You might be called to be a good wife one day and a good mother. God's giving you these gifts. Or you know something? It's occurred to me that maybe God has a plan and a call for you. To be a priest, a brother or a sister. Or, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Chariots of Fire. You know that movie? Young people, do you know who Chariots of Fire is? Recommend it. Great movie, true story, about a missionary in Scotland. Well, he was an Olympic runner. And his sister in the movie is upset because he's devoting too much time to running. And they need him in a mission in China. And he says this. Yes, he would go. He said, but God's made me fast for a reason. And he says, when I run, I feel God underneath my feet. And he was telling his sister, in my running, I glorify God. Well, we need a parent to look at us in a deeper way, how our little life is affected by God. And how we're seeing the two connecting, and maybe we begin to discover God's plan. And parents should be the ones involved because they know us, but they're listening to God also. So they're helping us discover Jeremiah 29:11. For I know well the plans I have in mind for you. Say it with me. For I know well the plans I have in mind for you. God knows already. Plans for your welfare, not for your woe. Plans to give you a future full of hope. Jeremiah 29:11-14. God has a plan for you. And He wants you to be not just happy, very happy. He wants you to be stuffed. Jesus called it in John 10:10. I came that you might have life. Say it with me. I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. God wants you to be stuffed with life. In fact, He says to us, you're the light of the world. Ooh, I'm kidding. Jesus said, I'm the light. And He says, you're the light. You let me into your life. You let me parent you. I'm going to make you. My presence in you is going to be contagious. The last word will not be your wounds, your mistakes, your sins. God will have the last word. So the fourth element of the blessing is that mom and dad were prayerful. They should have been prayerful. And they knew us. They listened. And they can help us discover God's plan. The fifth element of the blessing is based on Hebrews chapter 12, verse 5 to 7. That even in times that God has to, this is quoting, by the way, the book of Proverbs, that God sometimes, our parents, we need discipline. Sometimes there's tense moments. One day my dad, and I applaud him for this, God rest his soul. I was complaining about something, who knows what, and my dad said this. You don't like it? The door is open. Because who knows what I was complaining about. I was one unhappy young man. I should have been in jail at the age of 18. The police caught me. I should have been taken to jail. So who knows, I was complaining, whatever. And my dad said this. The door is open. Well, that close that and talk. Praise God, He did that. That's what God did today in the reading, the first reading from Exodus. Thou shalt not, a good parent, sets boundaries. You can do this will be allowed in this house, and you cannot do this. One day He heard me mouthing my mouth. Who knows what I was saying to my mother? It was very disrespectful. And my dad, now I had a beautiful example of marriage, by the way. My dad loved my mother. She was his queen, and my dad was the king. And it gave us great security seeing mom and dad love each other so much. In fact, not to see mommy and daddy loving each other, really brings insecurity to children. The best way a daddy can begin to love their son and daughter is loving their mommy well. And mommy loving daddy well. And one day I must have been mouthing off, who knows what I was doing, being disrespectful, and my dad said to this to me. He said, come here. My dad had a mad mom. And he said this, and I applaud him for this. I just heard you speaking to your mother like this. You will never do that again. She's your mother, and she's my wife. You will speak respectfully to your mother. And who knows, I was having that. Again, when you're living a life of sin, you can't be joy and happy-go-lucky. Hallelujah. When you are upset and living a life of chronic mortal sin, breaking the commandments galore, I'm telling you, you're not a happy camper. And I was actually, as a young man, a walking bad mood. My second oldest brother told me, your friends are your friends because they're really afraid of you. Well, that's not a good friend. So I was mouthing off at my mother. I can't remember about what. But my dad basically said, this will not be allowed. Bravo. He showed me that a man, by his example, protects the woman in his life. That's part of being a man. You protect the woman. And my dad was basically saying, this will not be allowed. Well, God did it today in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt and thou shalt not. One time I saw a t-shirt, you've probably seen it. What part of no don't you understand? I mean, the word has no, okay? No. Well, my dad basically said that. You will not do this. Praise God for my dad. Can we give my dad an applause? Come on. Let's help you. We need men that are men. So I applaud my dad for that. I recall that, and I'm grateful for that. So the fifth element of the blessing is at times what? Dad, or even mom, in difficult, tense moments, there has to be some type of discipline. And talk about difficult things. And when it's done correctly, it doesn't separate you, it makes you closer. God can work. And that's what we do in the community life. We've learned how to have differences in ways that bring us closer to each other, but more with God. Okay. So depending on that, and I want to ask you this question. How are we doing? We doing all right?
Yeah.
Are we falling asleep?
No.
Okay, let's stand up for a minute. Let's do Captain aerobics. And move your little head this way, move your little head this way. Okay, like this, like this. Okay, we doing all right? Okay, this obviously is more than just a homily. Okay, you say, boy, this father preaches. But it's the first talk, okay? Okay, it's a retreat, it's different, okay? Okay, we can be seated. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. We doing all right or not? Okay, we doing good? Okay. Let me ask you this question. What's the first word that comes to mind if you think about your dad? Don't say it. I'm focusing on dad today because it's the Father's Day. What's the first word? I asked that to my aunt, my father's sister, about her father, my grandfather, who my father saw dead drunk. My aunt, his sister, said to me he was a monster. That's the first word that she didn't delay it for a second. She told me. He was a monster. If we never bonded, because these 5 blessings is what helps us bond emotionally with Daddy. Bond. I know I belong to you and you belong to me. I feel like you have eyes for no one else. I'm your little champ and you're my hero. That's what a healthy. I heard of a little boy say about his daddy. He was little. You know what he said? My daddy created the world. You're kidding. He created the world. Yes. And I said, oh, is that beautiful? I can remember walking as a little boy in my father's shoes. You know, his shoes looked like motorboats. And I'm walking, my little feet were in there, and I would walk, and of course they were huge. Well, I mean, my dad was huge. We need that image, that Daddy will take care of me. God, he's huge. But when we didn't receive the blessing, and I didn't receive the blessing, you feel emotional like an orphan. What does an orphan feel like on a heart level? Lonely. Your heart never rests at home. You can't be yourself. You have to fake it. This you find so much. I hear parents tell me about it. So they ask the children, "How you doing?" Fine. Fine. That's all they say. Fine. They don't feel at home. They're orphans at home. No, the father and mother should have to learn how to get into their heart and see what that fine means. Because it's a cover-up for many things. Fine. And their life is not fine. Another way, by the way, that demons are entering is a lot of video games. I've heard a confession, literally, where a young man was confessing video games. The person turned and the demon spoke to me in the middle of confession. I won't even tell you what he looked like because it's scary. I don't want you to sleep. I don't want you to have nightmares tonight. But he became a monster. I'll leave it at that. And it was through video games. The demons entered him through video games. Dungeons and Dragons, all those games, that's one of them. In other games, that's the way. Oh, Satan's invented a lot of ways to keep us living in illusion. You don't connect with your heart, you have to connect with illusion. All these superheroes, they don't exist. God is reality, par excellence. And what's in your heart is reality. So a heart that has not received the blessing feels alone, feels they have to be strong. It's up to me to figure things out. The only resource I have to overcome problems and seek solutions is me. I have to be strong. So another symptom of that is I don't cry. I can't be vulnerable. I don't tell anybody what's really going on. I've had people that have never told anything. You know, this is coming for a priest. Father, I've never told anybody this. And they've lived with horrendous stuff. In a little peninsula, not far from Morocco, where I was given a retreat. Been there twice. Woman told me she was given away by her mother to her grandmother. The grandmother gave her back to the mother. The mother didn't want her. Guess who raised her? She was raised in the house of prostitution. Never told anybody. In her 70s, holding, not even her husband. And she said, my father will tell you. When she told me, whoo, did she cry? And rightly so. Not crying, she wailed. She was screaming as she was letting out the dark secret. So, those who are orphaned can't tell anybody. They live with many secrets. If you grew up with a house of alcoholism, many secrets in houses of alcoholism. No one says everything. The bomb goes off. The Twin Towers come down when Daddy comes home, or whoever the drunk is. Everything falls apart. It becomes crazy. No one says anything. So when my dad would get upset, whatever, my mom would do this. Her goal was to keep Dad at peace. Because she didn't want him to have a heart attack. Because she didn't want to be a widow. She was petrified. So, you keep everything inside. The problem is that when it stays inside, it grows. It's bigger than life. When really the fact is it might not be bigger than life. But if it's kept inside, it's bigger than life. So you feel you can't talk to anybody. That's an orphan. You have to be strong. You can't be vulnerable. And then the devil takes advantage of this. One of the main sins of this is masturbation. Very prominent. Pornography. It's off the charts today. Off the charts. Why? Because I don't allow my heart to feel. And if I don't allow my heart to feel and to talk to someone, to share, I'm lonely, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm upset, I want to cry, be vulnerable. If I don't deal with my reality in my heart, I go into an illusion. Images, movies, pornography, it's all an illusion. And the devil is the king of illusion. He wants you to stay always connected with illusion. 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 And I'm in illusion. And you live in illusion, you'll be bored. You will never be happy. And God is reality. So God, what does he do? He wants to deal. He's asking you, I want a relationship with you. I want to be the father you never had and the mother you never had to Our Lady. I want you to know how much I understand you and love you, have noticed you. I can't take my eyes off you. Who do you know would put himself in a box called the tabernacle? 24/7. This light says, that red light, the sanctuary light says, I'm here. Let me tell you what, I just heard this beautiful testimony that was sent to me. When John Paul II was spoke, how many of you have an adoration chapel in your parish? Raise your hand. Praise God. Beautiful. Good stuff. Good stuff. And John Paul II in Baltimore, he was in Baltimore, he wanted to go to visit. I don't know, it was the cathedral, but he wanted to visit the Lord. So of course security, high security, had snip dogs that were highly trained. And these dogs happened to be cadaver dogs, those who find cadavers in earthquakes, to find if someone's alive. And they were trained to, if they found someone alive, to bark. There's someone in there. So the dogs went from pew to pew, imagine, pew to pew. When the dogs got to the tabernacle, they started barking. There's someone alive in there. Dogs know more that Jesus is there than Catholics. You think I'm kidding you? His very name in Exodus chapter 3. When God tells Moses his name, so who do I tell the Israelites that you are? What's your name? God says in the Greek, ego eimi, which means I am, which means in the rabbinical tradition, ego eimi, I am. They translate it to mean, I am here for you. I'm always on your side. I'm always noticing you. For me, it's always about you. I love you and care for you. You, you, you. I died to be with you. So he exaggerates it. He does the divinely insane idea of making himself a prisoner in what you and I as Catholics know as the tabernacle. 24/7. But we act like it's the real absence, not the real presence. And really, we don't know that he's there. The dogs knew. My German Shepherd can tell when I'm praying in my chapel, if something happens like an angels are there. He sits up and he starts staring at them. They sense. Dogs are more sensitive. Well, a person that has that wound, the father wound, that lives as an orphan, they feel always very alone. Everything overwhelms them. Everything overwhelms them. The reactions are overkill. They compare themselves with anybody. They're always comparing themselves with everybody. They see their faults or sins, everything they drown. It's overwhelming. They can't overcome their faults. They feel defeated. Everything rattles their cage. They lose their peace like that. So they feel powerless. And when you feel powerless, you're angry. You feel overwhelmed. So they have to look for ways to soothe. So when you don't know the right way, you go for the wrong way. Love in the wrong places. I used to be the priest of the homosexual community in Tampa, sought after to anoint their lovers who were dying of AIDS. So I didn't know this, but they chose me to be their priest. So I heard a lot of honest confessions. None of them told me they were happy. All of them told me they had a father wound. They were thirsty for paternal, masculine love. So they dove in same-sex attraction. These are one of the signs of this issue. Every single one. By the way, I want to recommend a book. Now, I want it to be on here. It's called The Battle for Normality, Ignatius Press. Great explanation why you have this. And the whole issue of ideology, sexual ideology, disorder and all that, but they won't call it disorder. And by the way, I've worked with a lot. I've seen God set people free who struggle with same-sex attraction. Free. I'm talking free. I've seen those that want to have sex changes, free. They told me, Father, the thought doesn't even occur to me. I've seen the Lord free people who were transvestites. Free. In my ministry. Free. They all had these wounds, by the way. The bottom issue of all this stuff is wounds that were never dealt with. And this is Fulton Sheen now. Fulton Sheen said this. He was on his way to be canonized. I just heard of an incredible miracle. Bishop Fulton Sheen. He said, those that do not have joy in their life, they are sitting ducks. That's my translation. That's what my wording. They become prey for sexual temptation. You don't have joy, you look for gratification. In my country, I didn't understand why. Are we doing all right? Can I go a little longer? I apologize. You're so kind. I'm about to end, okay? Thank you for your patience.
Don't finish. Keep going.
You don't know what you're saying. Okay. How about this? In my country, I didn't understand. I was in the slum. The chapel was basically 24 sticks with hay on top. Dogs peed at the altar.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was a mess. We're talking no water, no electricity. Poverty like we find, not even in India. There's not much difference in the poverty that I've seen in Peru to the poverty in India. And the little boys, the altar servers, when I would go read the gospel, they would be pulling on my clothes, hanging. They would be holding on to my vestments. When I would be sitting down listening to the gospel, they would lean their head on my shoulder. When I would go to prepare the altar, they would grab me. And that didn't make sense. So I asked a friend of mine, a psychologist, priest, going on here. They said, in Peru, 65% of the babies born, the fathers abandon them before they're born. So they're starving for male attention and love. That's what you're seeing. 65% of the babies, this is in 2003, it's worse now. 2003, 65% of the babies born, daddy has left them before they were even born. Now, when you feel like an orphan, and basically, again, an orphan is that it could be even that my father was an alcoholic, or my father was a workaholic. He was there physically, but he wasn't there. Or I was so afraid of him. My father beat my mom, so I'm afraid. And then that means I never connected emotionally. Well, you're going to be an orphan emotionally. My father never told me I love you. Well, you're starting to hear the words, I love you. My father was cold. My father never talked. He was emotionally absent. I hear that a lot. He was there, but he wasn't there. He didn't know how to connect. There's a family that I know. They live in Europe. I'm the spirit director of both mom and dad. Huge wounds in both cases. The father doesn't know how to connect. Although with him, I tsunami him with love. There's not a meeting that I don't have that I don't say, I love you. I love you. He said, I love you too, Father. So he's learning to say back, I love you, Father. His father left him when he was 2 years old. I know a priest in Spain, his father left him when he was 2. He used to, as a grown man and a priest, he used to cut out from magazines photographs of men, paste them on a board, trying to imagine what his dad might have looked like. Now he had this as an adult, not as a child. He still had this in his room as an adult. His heart longing for a father image. So I'm giving you a few of the symptoms of an orphaned heart. And if we live out of that orphaned heart, number one, it's a lie. We're not an orphan. Now, there's a way that God begins to settle this. Because God was a good father in the book of Psalms 27, verse 10. Repeat with me. Even if my father abandons me. Even if your father and your mother abandon you.
Even if my father or mother
I will
abandons
take
me.
you up. God says, I'll parent you. I'll take their place. And he knows how to do it. Now I want you to know, and now I'll be 60 in January. Looking back, I wouldn't trade anything. Because I've met God the Father, I met Jesus first, and I met Our Lady. So I have the best parents. I know now how to live no longer as an orphan. And I'm continuing learning, by the way. And I'll finish with this, how Jesus began to work. The solution, I went to therapy, which helped, but it wasn't the solution. The solution was sitting in front of me. Because then he began to show me, I'm your family. I want to be the love you've never had. I want to be the understanding you never had. I want to be the one that's never noticed, that finally notices you. I want to be the one that understands you like no one's understood you, that listens to you. I want to be everything you never had, and much more. And this is the way it began. Actually, this was one of the ways I was tsunamied, overwhelmed by God. I was in the seminary. And I had already begun to heal from my collarbone. My dad and I were already reconciled. So I am in the seminary. I'm sitting in the front pew just like where my dear friends are right there. And the priest was going to expose the Blessed Sacrament. It was a day of prayer in the seminary. I was entering the chapel, And I heard in my heart these words. As I'm entering the chapel, it was Jesus. My son, get 2 handkerchiefs and return. I said. So I went. In those days I still wore Levi jeans. So I had my Levi's. And I put 1 handkerchief in my right pocket, 1 in my left. And I was kneeling in front of Jesus as he was exposed, and I said to Jesus, you know, Lord, I don't mind crying. And I don't mind crying in front of everybody. But let's not make a scene. Isn't 1 handkerchief enough? Why have you asked me to bring 2 handkerchiefs? And then I heard these words clearly in my heart. My son, 1 handkerchief is for you, and the other one is for me. And what he began to show me was I began to live the events of my dad's beatings, to relive them. But this time, Jesus was right next to me. You see, one of the things he had and he convinced me, in fact, he overwhelmed me with, I'm for you. And when I saw his reaction, how it affected him crying out to my dad, Frank, stop! Screaming, pleading with him. Why do bad things happen? Because people can choose bad things. That's why suffering exists. People can choose to cause suffering. Not because God wanted it. That's one of the things that I don't understand. Why has God given us? And I don't understand this, such free will. Part of it I know, theologically you can say, because love as you choose. I'm not going to force you to love me. I'm going to love you and you can choose to love me back. That's what the commandments are. So my dad, sadly, because of his own pain, etc., he beat me. But I saw the Lord's reaction. Eventually it was so overwhelming that I was crying, not crying, wailing, no longer for the pain, the suffering, the rejection, etc., but I was overwhelmed. I was tsunamied. I experienced trauma from God's love. His love traumatized me in a beautiful way. It overwhelmed me. I was no longer, it affected me more than what my dad did or didn't do. So when I think of those events of the past, there's no pain. In fact, I wouldn't trade it for anything now. I wouldn't want to go through it again. I wouldn't want any of you to go through it. But guess what? I know how Jesus saw me. Now I've seen my life with Jesus and I've seen it with God the Father. This one was with Jesus. One of the events with Jesus. Okay? So let's say together, glory be to the Father,
and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end.